Hi, I'm Cindy Y. Davis. CYD are my initials, so that'd be at CYD did Scientology. And we'll get there, but for right now, we're on chapter 7, and I'm taking a deep breath. I'm trying to keep these chapters to about an hour. So let's see. Okay. Chapter 7. I think chapter 6, I didn't name at the time. I knew there'd be a little rewind, and there was. So I went back over or added a few things for over a period of time that I hadn't added before. That's what my rewinds are. I'll get done with a couple chapters and think of a few things and want to go back and make sure I add them. So those are the rewinds. So the last one haven't put it out there yet, but it'll probably be rewind and Nebraska. So Nebraska was brief. Nebraska, we were there for, I think I was there 7th grade. Pretty sure I did the whole year there. Pretty sure, but not totally sure. The folks decided to get a divorce. Marcella, who has not quite turned 17 yet, is given an apartment, rented an apartment for her, 3 months rent, and then she's on her own. Gary, my younger brother, and myself and my mom are, my brother is 2 years younger than me. So at this point I am still 12, 13. You'll have to excuse me. I always remember what years and where I lived, but I don't really associate them anything really with my own age. When I have to do my own age, I'm doing math. So I'm somewhere 12, 13. Pretty sure it was still 12 when we moved, so it may have been partway into 7th grade. Anyway, my dad is on his way to Thailand. He's met another woman who lives in Louisiana. I'll never forget the first time I said Louisiana. Sorry, I gotta move a cord. Louisiana to her, and New Orleans, and she immediately corrected me. It's Louisiana and it's New Orleans. So got those down a little bit later, but not too far later. Anyway, me, Gary, Mom are moving to California. Dad is being transferred from Offutt Air Force Base, Nebraska, SAC headquarters, to Bangkok, Thailand. Let me go to that. Utapao, U-T-A-P-A-O, Air Base, Bangkok, Thailand. Dad was there from 1970 to 71, so I very well could still be 12, I think. Anyway, so he's going to Thailand. I've been trying to mention where I knew what his jobs were in each place. His job there in Thailand was loading bombs onto B-52s to go to Vietnam when there were no bombs being loaded on B-52s in Thailand going, I did say Vietnam, right? Bombs going to B-52s going to Vietnam, yes. Second there, I thought I said Guam. Haven't really started and I'm already flustered. Okay, so yes, he's in charge of doing something that's not really happening, but it's really happening. So it all depends on the clearance you have had at the time. Yeah, so he's doing that. Okay, so Dad's in Thailand. Marcella's in Nebraska, in Omaha, in an apartment. looking for a job and doing things that hopefully she can get things covered in 3 months to start covering rent at 16, just going to turn 17. Me, Gary, and Mom, we've gone to, if you've been with me, you know that I use this regularly and that I keep notes. For what we're going into right now, my note is, which is interesting, Chapter 7, SA, which is supposed to be the very beginning of spelling out San Mateo. But I stopped at SA and I wrote Foster City, California. And that's all I have on my notes for Chapter 7. I usually plan ahead, but from probably here on out, in following chapters, there won't be notes, there won't be planning ahead. They'll be straight from my memories. Sometimes they may get different times mixed in with different times. We'll see how it goes, but no notes on this one. I have a few pictures to help me remember. I have my photo laptop over here. I have Ziggy, if I need him, over here. Ziggy, never mind.
Were you talking to me?
Yeah, but I don't need you. Thank you. Not now. So I have...
Got it. Catch you later, Cindy.
I have him here when I need him. I have no notes, but I have also some pictures there if I want to scroll like I'm old on my Facebook albums. Other than that, this... This chapter, and let me insert here, because we're going to get there, but not really fast or really soon. Maybe fast, but won't be soon. The distinction. I know in my own head. Whoa, okay. Red wine, white furniture. All right. Take a breath. Scientology auditing costs a fucking fortune. Psychiatrist by the hour doesn't cost that fortune, but psychiatry by the hour is a pretty penny. But Scientology by the auditing hour, by intensives, by 12 hours, you can spend thousands of dollars, easily thousands and thousands of dollars. So we haven't got there yet, but yes, I did Scientology. So I have learned to cry and talk. And this is probably the chapter where crying and talking starts. Pacing may also start. Need to move around. So I'll be shifting you to another location if that occurs, when that occurs. I can cry and talk. I can cry and laugh. I can cry and cry. I hope to not ugly cry. As I mentioned in my introduction, I'm here to tell you the good and the bad and the ugly. Just like the song. There have been parts so far that haven't been too bad. There's been some things. This is definitely one of those things I'm doing in order from I was born through in order, so I can sneak up on these things. The only thing is it's hard to sneak when you know what's coming. All right. To date, my whole life has been spent as an Air Force brat, growing up in the military with family rules, military rules, rules that extended to not only how you acted yourself, because that could reflect on your parents, especially your dad, and his position and his rank and his bosses. Lots of rules, not a lot of conversation. I can't say, I had a sense of my position as a brat. I had a sense of my obligations, my duty as a brat, how to be, how to act. I also had a sense of that from my family, how to be, how to do, how to act. But I had no sense of self at this point. I had no sense of self. I had a self in relation to my family, in relation to school, which wasn't much, in relation to friends, which also really wasn't much after just moving and people coming and going and coming and going and coming and going. But yeah, no real, I didn't feel socialized with my peers. I didn't feel socialized in my family. I didn't feel socialized. I didn't have a point of view. I didn't have a point of view for many levels to come. So I find myself, for the first time in my life, not being an Air Force brat, moving to California with Gary and Mom. We went to stay in Foster City, which had actually just been established in Siggy. What year was Foster City, California established?
Foster City, California was established in 1971.
Okay, so 69 we moved from California. 70 we spent, basically we'll call that Nebraska. We moved to Foster City when Foster City was still becoming Foster City. And why I say like created, Foster City was built on landfill into the bay. They actually created the land for Foster City to sit on the edge of the bay. San Francisco Bay, California. I believe in San Mateo County, but I'm not going to double check, but maybe Gary will fact check that one. Anyway, we moved to Foster City. We moved in, me, Mom, and Gary, with a family that we had known on Guam. I'll call them the P family. Their last name started with a P. So we kind of knew their kids, but we had known them in 69, 70 when we saw them in Nebraska. They were just leaving when we got there. Their dad was retiring and they were moving to Foster City, California. So he was retired. I don't know what he did next. But we moved in with that family. It was 3 boys, so it was the oldest son, another son, a daughter, and a younger son. I was more or less between the daughter and the second son's age, and Gary was between the daughter and the last son's age. I think I was 12. I don't think I had turned 13 yet. I'm pretty sure I was. I'm not doing the math now. I'm just going to keep telling you what happened. So we moved in with this family. Lovely people. We'd always gotten along fine. The dad was really, really strict. The mom was really, really happy. She was a good mom. She was an involved mom, really involved mom. It won't come to me, it's not going to come to me right now, but she lived their heritage. I believe they were Lebanese, which is interesting because my daughter's, my son-in-law's family is Lebanese heritage. Oh no, they were Armenian. Okay. It's all in there somewhere, packed in stuff. So they were Armenian. And she was happy, lovely mom. She cooked a lot. She was always joking around. Her oldest son was, I believe, around Marcella's age or so. So he may have been 17 by then. He was funny, serious funny. He had a very, I would say, English sense of humor. You had to be kind of with it to keep up with him. The accidental funniest thing that he ever did was shaking a ketchup bottle and the lid wasn't on tight and the ketchup flew out and hit the cuckoo clock and made the cuckoo clock go cuckoo and all of that. But other than that, he had his own personal pretty good sense of humor, and he loved to tease his mom. He was like the many characters you see in a lot of TV shows and movies where the oldest son or the son is always teasing his mother, and they had a relationship like that, so that was fun to see. Again, the dad was really strict. I remember having a cold and not being able, you couldn't sniff and you had to blow and you had to go in the other room to blow, and it was a very precise thing, a lot like mom had been with meals and stuff. Sit like this, napkin like that, no elbows on the table, fork held like this, breathe a certain, and he was like that about certain things. So, not like we were not used to it, it was just different things this time. While we were living there, mom was looking for a job, but she was looking for a job in the South Bay in San Jose area because my aunt lived there. And she wanted to be near her sister. It was her sister that she grew up, they were child prodigy pianists and playing the piano together for years and years. And mom had switched to organ when we lived in Kansas. Even before that, she played pipe organs for the Church of England when we lived in England even. So she loved the organ. So anyway, she was looking for a job in the South Bay so we could get a place in the South Bay and be closer to her sister, my Aunt Shirley. And my Aunt Shirley at the time was, her name was Shirley, and then she had married before. I've been with other men and had different last names, but her stage name at the time to play the organ in clubs and stuff, you had to have a SAG card. So her name was Tony Parks on her SAG membership. And she played piano bars, which were really organ bars, but they still called them piano bars, where you had a place for the organ and had a bar around it, and people would order drinks and request songs and sing along or not, and happy or sad or whatever. She would play the organ in bars. Well, she suggested, since Mom had a lot of background actually in typing and clerical, that Mom try and find a job with the county, because if she kept a job with the county for so many years, she could get retirement. And in the end, Mom did. She worked in social services in Santa Clara County for 21 years, I think. So she did find a job down there. But in the meantime, while she was still looking, we were living in Foster City with this other family. And it was awkward, just an awkward situation. And then trying to blend all the kids and family, and only temporary, and us not really understanding, and us always having been on base and never lived with anybody else, never even had friends over, and here we are living with other people. And going to a different school wasn't so different, but we had always gone to school where there were military kids, and there's no military kids, and it's a regular school. And honestly, I don't remember it all. And I think that is where I kind of I think I finished off 7th grade there. Ziggy, how old are you when you're in 7th grade?
In the United States, kids in 7th grade are usually around 12 to 13 years old.
Thanks. Okay, so I was 12 to 13. I think I was still 12 then. Finishing 7th grade there. I had just turned 13. God,
That's right, Cindy. Finishing 7th grade at 12 sounds about right.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Do you have any favorite memories from that school year?
Ziggy, stop. Okay, so that age. I don't remember the actual school. I remember walking to school and from school. I remember walking home from school. And I only remember walking home from school on one day. I know there were other days. I know there were days I was in school. I don't remember those days. At that point, everything was different. Everything was different already. Different. One day, how do I do this? Let's almost get there. In the house where we lived with them, the P family the mom had an organ in a living room. They had a living room, and then they had like a family room. And we had never known any difference. And the living room had an organ in it. Everything was white. The furniture was covered in plastic. But Mom would go in there to play the organ, and we could, once, if she was in there, sit on the couch only and not play or anything while she played the organ. Meals were regular. The family room was fun after eating and stuff and watching TV and all. There were issues between us younger kids, but they generally worked out. Okay, so that's how it was there. Now, going to school, coming from school, I remember coming home from school, and I only remember this one day, and the reason that one day stood out for me is I remember being at least 3 or 4 blocks away from where they lived and heading there, walking alone from school. And this is, you gotta imagine, this is a completely like just built neighborhood. It's not even finished. The yard, there's no trees in any of the yards. A lot of the yards don't even have sod. They just have dirt. They've just been built. Some of the houses are empty. Some of them are lived in. So it's not a very busy area. And I remember being on this street which edged the bay, and then on the side of the street I was walking on, and then on the other side of the street, there was sidewalk, and then there was yard and houses, but not on the side I was on. And if I walked around, I think that outside edge and went down like 3 or 4 blocks and then turned into another block, I would be where they lived. But while I'm on this outside edge block, this van comes along, and a white murder van comes along, because the vans in the movies are always, the murder vans, the kidnap vans, they're always white vans. So this white van comes along. I can't really see who's in it, who's driving it. I don't even know that I even think about that. What I do think about that is it's going really slow, and it's going the same direction I am, so it's on a lane away from me. It's only 2 lanes, so I'm walking where my lane would be coming towards me, and he's driving where the other lane is going the same direction I am. And I needed to cross, or I normally would cross there at that corner to go to where he was on the other side of the street. And then he just stopped, and I didn't know what to do. And it's not like I knew something was wrong. I didn't want to cross with him there, or I couldn't even make out. I'm pretty sure it was a him. It must have been a him, because later on I said it was a him. So, but not like I could make out a hymn clearly. I wasn't like in the habit of picking out hymns. So I started walking back the way I had come. And instead of like turning around and going the same direction I was going, and he would have been on the same side of the street as me, he started backing up. So then I turned and I started going the other way, and then he started going forward again. And I was then scared. And I don't recall how long this went on, but I was not crossing the street as long as he was there, and then he eventually wasn't there, and I eventually crossed the street, and I went home, and I told Mom. And then Mom told Mrs. P, and then Mrs. P was like, and she was a very funny and very happy, wonderful woman, but she was a frantic type person, and she frantically called the police because I told them what was happening with this van. And to me, it was more the van than the man in the van. It was just this van kept doing this, when I was trying to come home. So they called the police. So the police came. And I told them what was happening. And they called out another police car. And the police car is checking the area. And they're questioning me about this, that, and the other thing that I don't really remember. And all I could really tell them is just what I told you. And they didn't believe me. They were like, there is no sign of a van. Well, the van had left before I crossed the street. They didn't believe me. And then, and of course they knew like I was new there. We were just staying with them temporarily, blah, 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 blah. It's a new area, not that many, whatever. And they didn't believe me. So then I remember I remember the mom, Mrs. P, at some point when she and I were alone, telling me that no matter what I did, they weren't going to tell mom to leave until mom found a job and stuff. So no matter how much Gary and I were going to try and, because there have been things with us kids and stuff, no matter how much Gary and I tried to make it bad, they weren't going to kick us out until at all, or or tell us to leave, not kick us out. But and I was confused. I was upset that they didn't believe me, and then I was confused that it was like it was something I was doing on purpose. And like any good Air Force brat, you adapt and let it go and move on. You adapt and let it go and move on. Adapting is a really, really big thing as a brat, is adapt, adapt, adapt. Cool. So, we're with them. I think that's where I finished 7th grade. And then mom found a job with the county, working for social services. I don't remember the names of all her jobs. I should have her positions. She was really good at what she did. She helped out social workers who were helping other people. And I knew that she handled all their folders and went through them and decided she was an intake person. I think later on she became an intake supervisor, but she was an intake person. So she would figure out when new people needed welfare and needed whatever they needed, food stamps, medical, different things that they needed. She would figure out what social worker, she kept track of who had what clients and how many and time and all of that stuff for all of these social workers, and would give out new clients, new intake people as it fit the different situations of the different social workers. And she did that for 20-something years until, well, I'll get ahead of myself on her job, but she was really good at that, and she did it for a lot of years, and it transformed into different things as computers came along. But she was hauling around these big old folders for people on welfare at the time and deciding who their social workers should be. Okay, so that's what mom was doing. So that was basically your 8 to 5 job. Was it 8 to 5, 8 to 6, 8 to 5? However long lunch. Very regulated, union, working for the county of Santa Clara. And her building at that point, was it that close at that point? We moved from Foster City, from the P family's place in Foster City. Mom got us an apartment on Hamilton Avenue in San Jose, California. It was a triplex that we lived in. I have pictures, but I hesitate to show too many pictures of things. So we moved into a triplex. Still pretty sure I did part of 7th grade in Omaha and then part of 7th grade in Foster City. So I'm pretty sure I started out fresh, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like I did more 7th grade in San Jose when we moved. I'm pretty sure I did. So that would be 3 schools for 7th grade. Omaha, Foster City, and then finishing off in San Jose. Try and keep track of time. I think I'm going on about an hour almost. Really? Can't be an hour. Really? Almost? Really? Jeez. I need to write down what time I start. I'm not sure how long it's been. And I don't think my program tells me. Hang on. I'm going to get really close now, folks. 49. Oh, it does tell me. Oh, yay, it tells me. So about 35 minutes. So, doing pretty good. Okay, alrighty then. So, we move into this triplex on Hamilton Avenue. It's not too far from, like, let's see, if you go to my school, I cross the street. Well, I go down a ways, cross the street, and is back behind a couple blocks in the residence. And now we're not only not an Air Force brat, we are in our own place, totally no Air Force anything, no other military kids. We are civilians for the first time in my life. We are like not even with another ex-Air Force family. We are civilians now. Except for our medical, dental, and all of that stuff. We still have dependent ID cards, and we still have all of that stuff because Dad's still in the military. But we live nowhere. The nearest base we live to is Moffett Navy Base is the nearest base we live to at that point. Which is like in Sunnyvale, which at that time they didn't all run together, but now all those towns, San Jose, Santa Clara, Sunnyvale, they all run together. You really can't tell except for the signs that you've left one and gone into the other. Okay, so let's see. We're in the triplex. It's me, Mom, and Gary. It's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. Mom is working 8 to 5. Gary and I are going to school. We walk to school. Does he? Yeah, we walk to school. He has to walk farther than I do, and he's younger than I was. So that was weird to me even at the time. And his school was more over towards Main Street, where mine was kind of back in the neighborhood, a couple blocks. And then not too far down from us on Hamilton was Westgate Shopping Mall, which was one of the first, is that enough smoke? Was Westgate Shopping Mall. And let's see, and we were right, I don't know how close, anyway, we weren't too far from Saratoga, California, and at that time on Hamilton Avenue, so what year were we? I swear I'm going to start losing track of stuff. 70, 71, so 70, 71. And at that time on Hamilton Avenue, even though it's in San Jose, California, Ziggy, what year did the song Do You Know the Way to San Jose came out? What year did that song come out?
The song Do You Know the Way to San Jose was released in April 1968.
Okay, so the song had come out before we were there. 68, we were there 70, 71. So San Jose was just starting to grow then, because that song really did make the city grow a lot. And but when we first moved
That's
in,
an interesting connection.
Ziggy, stop. When we first moved into that, and Hamilton Avenue and still is I think it's 4 lanes with a center lane, turning lane. So I think it's 5 lanes, and was always from the time we moved in until now. And I remember seeing people riding horses by on Hamilton Avenue back in that time. And there were still San Jose and the Valley. The Valley wasn't Silicon Valley yet. It was prune yards, lots and lots of prune yards and orchards of various types of orchards, to the point where a lot of the ground, like in Santa Clara now where my mom had lived, was clay, just from the soil being, so much of the dirt reworking through orchards into becoming like clay. And at least that's the explanation I was given for why it was clay when it had previously been orchard. So, prune yards, it was still farming area, but it was becoming more city than it had been. And let's see. Okay, so where am I at? All right, 40. So that's going to give me, all right, I'm just trying to figure out time, because there's going to come a time. Okay, so Gary and I both walked to school separately. We were going to two different schools. I was going to a junior high school, which was 7th and 8th grade. I believe I was just finishing off 7th grade, and that was all good. And I made a friend, and it was a guy. I don't remember his name. He lived down Hamilton Avenue in a corner where there were stacked apartments, like an apartment, like different level floors, apartment on the corner. And I remember him just being, I didn't really think of him being like a guy. I just thought of him being like a friend. And we used to play and do all kinds of stuff, like, you know, goofing around together and watching TV together. And after homework was done, he was allowed to come over when Mom wasn't home, because we were just kids playing. And I had my appendix taken out at one point. That was the whole thing, because I had to go to military bases. So I'm having this horrible, horrible pain. I forget, it was somebody's birthday or anniversary or something, or some holiday. Anyway, I'm in like incredible pain. My pain is on the right side, and it's so incredibly bad. And so my mom takes me out to Moffett, the Navy base, and they look at it and they say it's appendicitis, but they don't have a surgeon there. So I have to go to this other hospital in San Jose, and they tell Mom to drive me. That would be the fastest way. So she's driving me to this other hospital. We get to the other hospital, and they have a surgeon, but they don't have a nurse, because the nurses are on strike. So then Mom has to drive me to a third hospital, and the surgeon goes, but it's the only hospital that has any nurses that can work to do this surgery that aren't on strike. So we go to this third hospital. I'm lucky it hasn't exploded at this point. And they go in and they do and they don't know for sure that it's appendicitis, because all my pain's on the right and your appendix are on, or it's the other way around. I forget what my scar is. All my pain's on the left and the scar is on the right, because your appendix are on your right. Okay, so it's the other way around. And hell, I could hardly ever see my scar. I had a great surgeon. He did a light pinch of the skin, found the wrinkle, which is still a wrinkle, even from a like 7th, 8th grader to now. It's just, I don't even notice it now. But, and he did this nice little short little appendix scar, but my appendix was like 3 times as long as it's supposed to be, and it went over to my left side, which is why all my pain was on the left, and it was appendix, and they took it out from the right, where it normally is. So anyway, so that was it. So I remember playing with this boy, and I can't remember his name. I remember playing with him afterwards, and him and Mom would go after me, snapping towels at me, because they told me that I needed, the doctor or surgeon said I needed to be up and moving around and don't restrict my movement or anything like that. And I also remember for the longest time what were supposed to be sutures that would dissolve didn't dissolve, a bunch of them, and I would end up like pulling them out, which was kind of fun at the time. But yeah, so I remember that. I remember playing with him, and that was fun. I also think with Mom, Mom had loosened up some. Generally, I was trying to put together meals like hamburger helpers or whatever after school, so by the time she got home from work, we would have something to eat. So I was starting to learn how to cook. Oh, I do remember another time. Oh God, this was horrible. I was homesick from school, had the flu or something, and I was really sick. And I had been in the bathroom barfing, and I remember calling her at work, which was only something you did if it was really important. It was really important because I couldn't quit crying because I had gone into the kitchen to make myself some food because I'm homesick alone. And I wanted to make some pancakes, so I heated up the frying pan and the pancakes, and then some whatever bugs started falling from the oven vent into my hot oil for my pancakes, and they're like frying bugs. And so I called Mom because I was crying so I do remember that. And I do remember making hamburger helper. So I do remember I was actually cooking some stuff. I remember that did we talk more? Somewhat talked more because it was just me, her, and Gary. And I think, on the trip out there, even driving out to California from Nebraska and stuff, that we all became closer because we were like the team. And I do remember things like Mom being on a couch, and we had these round kind of terry cloth texture pillows, some square ones, some round ones, kind of thick, so something you could lean on the couch and lay down and, like watch TV or take a nap. And the mom, she got her ears pierced when we moved there. Something she would have never done, being raised Seventh-day Adventist, and never did before then. But when we moved to San Jose, California, Mom got her ears pierced, and her earring got stuck on one of those pillows, and she can't see to get it off herself, so she calls me in there to get it off, and then all I can see is my mom has this like huge pillow earring, and and so we did have times where we laughed until we cried, and that was one of those times. And I did finally was able to work that big old pillow off of her earring. It was so stuck on there. And so there were times when we laughed and joked and had fun, things that we had never done that before. And I do seem to recall there were some conversations, but it was generally on, chores you needed to do, things you needed to do because, Mom was working now, and we were, I guess at the time it was called latchkey kids. I didn't really think about that, but we did come home and unlock the door, and we were self-sufficient at that point. So that leads me into, I only have like 12 minutes left, and it just won't do. Let me do some other stuff, and as soon as we hop into, and I will do right away, chapter 8. I'll do chapter 8 in about 10 minutes. So let me see, what other kind of things? I know where I want to start that, but I don't want to start that now. So we're a little more independent. Oh, my cousin that I had become my idol lived in San Jose, the other side of San Jose from us. I do have pictures where she came to see us at the apartment we lived in, at the triplex we lived in. And the triplex was all one level thing. It wasn't like a multi-level anything. And it's still there, along with the whole, that whole very long block full of triplexes. But that cousin that was my idol, she came to see us there. And by this time, she had gotten married. Her husband was a man that was going to be a Catholic priest, and had decided last moment when he was somewhere up in the Santa Cruz Mountains, where you could see at some point was, oh shit, I don't know even now. I don't remember what it was called. If it was nuns, it would be a convent, but it was all men going to be priests, and some already priests, but men learning to be priests. I don't remember what it was called, but it was up in the Santa Cruz Mountains on the, San Jose facing side of the Santa Cruz Mountains, where his monastery, is that what they're called? A monastery was? But he had decided not to be a priest, and he and my cousin were married, this idol cousin of mine, the one that I quit chewing my fingernails because of. So she lived there. My aunt was in an apartment that she lived in for quite some time, that eventually my mother and brother lived in, but don't want to get too far ahead. And me, I'm in the summer between 7th and 8th grade. And we will pick up when I start 8th grade. And the things I really thought I would get into in this hour, not having any notes and not going by pictures. Let me just take a quick look and see if there is anything. No. There is really not anything quite yet. So when we come back, we will be in 1971. And my stabilizer has quit following me. Anyway, I am going to end off here for right now. I'm sorry, I'm taking a moment to... Well, I believe we are just going to end off here, facing the kitchen. And I'm going to pick up on chapter 8 in a few minutes. I'll be back with you, and funnily enough, but not really funny, I thought the world was going to quake in chapter 7, and it's actually going to quake at the very beginning of chapter 8. So I'm going to let you go now and move into that chapter. And I'm Cindy Y. Davis at CYDdidScientology. And have fun out there.